our amount of expenditure on maintenance and operation, and the NWRA will also have to do the same. It won't spend money that it doesn't have, but it won't be able to maintain and operate the infrastructure as effectively as it could if the water boards are unable to pay for the raw water. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honourable Ramaila, your questions?
Thank you, Chair, and good morning to the Minister, Deputy, the DG, and my colleagues. I would also like to start by also appreciating the progress report that has been provided, especially in as far as Guyana project is concerned. But we would further like to request that similar projects that fall within the basket of the same MTEF period as Guyana that are also delayed should also be attended to. We appreciate very much that. Secondly, we would like to appreciate the financial performance, getting 99.8 so exceptional, so excellent. We appreciate that, and I hope Minister will also be able to invite colleagues sector departments for benchmarking. Now, as far as the rest of what about is concerned, there is a disaster waiting to happen. The process of intervention mechanism must be expedited. Now, relating to that is the services amendment bill. I haven't familiarized myself yet, but one challenge that I know what these authorities have is that they do not have water service provision as a trading service. Therefore, normal municipalities, that service is not reinforced. The income that comes from that service just falls within one pool. I'm not sure whether the amendment bill goes to the extent of enforcing the ring fencing of the water services provision. I thought that is something like that. I might also suggest that maybe it gets taken into consideration as far as that is concerned. And my question will be on the fourth quarter. The first one is that the fourth quarter report notes on page 5 that numerous projects have experienced unacceptable delays, impeding their progress. And what are these delays, and how will the DWS prevent them from recurring in the near future? The other one is with regard to the fourth quarter again. The report on page 7 shows that local municipalities receive an amount of 12.2 billion of the 2023-24 financial year to address water and sanitation infrastructure backlogs and refurbishment of the dilapidated infrastructure. So say local municipalities have received this money to address water sanitation challenges. Is DWS achieving value for the money as far as this is concerned? And the last one on that quarter is that the question on the education program is concerned, we all of limiting the informal human settlement. However, the Department of Sanitation has encountered difficulties in this execution. The third quarter was the coming up that service providers have succeeded in eliminating the remaining 10,008 existing in the state province. When can the anticipated completion or eradication of this bugger system in Free State and other areas, former human settlements be dealt with? But again, here, I think the matter is how the department reports in terms of remedial measures. That does not give us a full extent of us understanding what the challenges are in that regard. And my last two questions would relate to the first quarter. That is the issue in the first quarter report, the department announced the appointment of at least 120 additional technical staff to help with the water use license applications, aiming to achieve 90-day turnaround time. Will the department solely handle the water use license application with the additional staff it has just recruited? And if so, we wish to commend the department for ensuring that it achieves this important target, and this delay also that comes from the president that needs to be addressed. My last one, Chair, will read to in terms of expenditure to national bulk infrastructure grant that Eastern Cape and the list for the first quarter 18% and 3.2%. Measures will then ensure that the province spends all intervention by the end of the financial. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Member Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Ramaila. Ramaila will try to ensure that the strategy that we've used in terms of unblocking the Kiani project is also used in other projects. We appreciate your guidance on that. Because once we declare and that this project will take so many years, we will create hopes to our people, and we cannot just let our people down. It was unfortunate that this project has taken rather too long to service our people. On the financial accountability, indeed, we are doing all what we could to ensure that we account accordingly to what was allocated to us. That is part of good governance. On the issue of debts that are owed to our boards, our main objective is to raise our boards to see what happens to the boards. Because if they get bankrupt, it only affects the value they are not paid, but it affects the entire that the water is servicing. Hence, our agent has to part and that we need until the hour, and we're in the municipality to rescue, even on the side of the provinces, to rescue our water boards. So we, as we said, that once all that is done, we are going to ensure that we update the portfolio committee. Indeed, if all municipalities could do proper maintenance on the infrastructure and use the infrastructure municipal infrastructure grant and ring fence that, and hence we are working with a treasury to ensure that that is done. That should be implemented. That will save us. Save them as municipality in terms of informal settlement that have just mushroomed. They are not within that project that was assigned to us, and therefore municipalities must deal with that. That is why in our budget vote, we said we are also exploring some ways of dry sanitation that is going to be healthier and that is going to give dignity to our people. And some of municipalities have already plugged to that, but it is not enough. It is not enough, I must say. Because when they do that, and there's an instruction from Human Rights Commission, then they have to act and ensure that they supply water, they supply sanitation facilities. However, we are monitoring the situation. Whilst it is not entirely our overall mandate, we assist to intervene where need.
Clarifies that billing and revenue collection, management, and HR are all water service provider functions, and therefore should all be contained within the water service provider. which to a certain extent is moving towards ring fencing the function as a ring fence function within the municipality. Perhaps, Chairperson, as I indicated, National Treasury is implementing this reform of Metropolitan Trading Services Program, which is going some way towards requiring metropolitan municipalities to, in some form, to ring fence their revenues from the sale of water for the water function. So again, branch in the department about two and a half years ago, we've greatly strengthened our oversight over the expenditure of these grants, and we've also strengthened our planning processes. We're now very strict with regard to the planning processes, and we make sure that the planning process is done very thoroughly for grants. Proper feasibility studies and proper planning is done through the various planning stages before we make allocation to municipalities. So I'd say that we're obtaining improved money the last 3 years greatly over what was done previously. There is, however, a problem that we provide money to municipalities for new infrastructure, and quite often municipalities don't adequately maintain that infrastructure. It deteriorates rapidly, and sometimes having to give money repeatedly to municipalities to refurbish infrastructure which is deteriorated rapidly due to a lack of maintenance. I'd like to ask Rizimati to answer some of the other questions. Rizimati?
Thanks, DG. Thanks, Chair. I think just to put a liner on what the DG has mentioned now on the value for money for our projects. Part of what we are doing, the department is basically currently capacitating the water services intervention. And it's actually getting more technical engineers to oversight these projects that we are implementing. But what the department has done as well, Chair, is we ensure that when projects are being planned, our professional engineers, our planning engineers are not absent to the entire process. The challenges of overpricing of projects, wrong planning of projects that becomes a white elephant and are not actually integrated to the MIG reticulation project as well. Those are the things that we have actually ring-fenced. So we are now starting to reap the harvest, and I think the evidence is being shown in Guyana, where we're able to link from the source to the bulk and to the reticulation because the planning was basically accelerated and integrated. On the question of the bucket eradication, the question was asked whether we'll be able to complete this in our lifetime or it will be perpetual. Chair, we can confirm that there's been much on the BEP, but maybe I can take a point, Chair, to say there's been quite a lot of misunderstanding and misconceptions, specifically when it comes to the bucket eradication program. And I think Minister has hinted this on the fact that the conditions are not as practical as we read on paper. Part of the challenges that emanated in this project was there was never or prior studies technically to determine if the projects can be implemented, part of which were issues of groundwater challenges. There were no engineering designs. There were no proper pricing of the project. Now, it therefore becomes a project that you design as you go. And I think all of us will agree that technically that is not how project needs to be implemented. But what the department has done is to ring-fence internally our engineering services to ensure that we don't outsource much of the engineering designs. We do them in-house and we do project monitoring ourselves. Now, all these changes and also developing acceleration plans has actually resulted in us making strides in this project. And just to cap yourself, Chair, is that we have at least about 3 projects in Arlington, in Reyes, as well as Dalesville, which we are sitting on average about 90% or so. Now, the target of these is they should be functional by the end of this current calendar year. the balance of those like Fixberg, Senegal, Tlokoland, as well as Petra Stains, we are projecting them to receive at least functional completion by the end of this current financial year. Now, that is one progress that achieved today, and I think the next report will be able to reflect further on this. That part is the issue. I think I've alluded to that there are actually a monthly meeting that we are having with our water service authorities to identify the key hotspot areas like Man, where the Eastern Cape hold constant meetings. We also integrate to focus this because some of the challenges are beyond what the department can do, such as lead procurement processes, but the department, through our regional heads, is actually accelerating. You will see in the next quarter, Chair, that there's actually progress in terms of the Eastern Cape targets. It's so unfortunate that by the time we had dust on the ground, we had already gone over our reporting cut line for the quarter, but there's actual progress on the ground. Thanks, DG.
Thanks, Marty. The final question, Chair, is about the additional staff that we hired for the water use licensing. Yes, those 120 staff have all been hired to focus on water use licensing. We prioritized our very limited available budget to hire more staff, to hire additional staff for water use licensing, because it is a priority and it's key for economic growth that we issue water use licenses timelessly and efficiently, and we get a high volume of water use license applications all the time. And in terms of the National Water Act, assessing these water use license applications is quite complicated. There are obligations that we have to follow from the National Water Act to ensure that we protect water resources before we issue a water use license. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Dlilanga.
Thank you so much, Chair. Let me first and foremost welcome the presentation by the department and appreciate the issues that they've placed on their relations, which shows that it is a work in progress, with some difficulties. And I'm hopeful that we'll be able to manage some of those difficulties moving forward. I've only got a few questions that right on by the department, just only 3. The first one is more about the implementation of the 2022 preferential procurement regulations, which mandate government departments to allocate a portion of their procurement spent to designated groups, such as women, youth, and people living with disabilities, which I think the government itself has made some significant progress. Over the years, the department has faced challenges on meeting the targets for people with disabilities. What measures will the department take to guarantee the community this target? On page 30, on the quarter report, notes that the department has successfully completed 11 out of the expected 31 projects nationwide, which are funded by the Regional Park Infrastructure Grant. How will the department guarantee the completion of this project before the end of the financial year? Also, what assistance does the department provide to struggling municipalities or the provinces? Which I think that has partly been answered by members. The last one is on the water services infrastructure grant projects, where the fourth quarter reports on page 30 indicate that 2 provinces, Gauteng and Western Cape, plan to complete 10 and 12 projects, but have achieved 0 and 5, respectively. What are the main reasons for not completing these 2 projects in those provinces? And are the plans in place in the future that when projects planned, they become completed in line with the time frames? Thank you so much, Honorable Chair, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Minister?
Thank you very much, Chair. Appreciating questions from Honorable Dlela. Can I quickly pass these questions to CFO and the DG the impact on the financial side, please, Chair.
Thank you, Didi.
Chairperson, I'll answer the first question, then we might answer the second too. The version of the preferential procurement regulations changed from the previous version. In the latest preferential procurement regulations, which are currently in effect, they don't allow for set-asides. The previous version of the preferential procurement regulations allows to set aside tables, and for example, for construction projects that we could ensure that up to 30% was allocated to certain groups. But that was taken out in the later version of the preferential procurement regulation. So currently, the process that we required by the Preferential Procurement Policy Framework Act and the regulations to follow is that we have to allocate either 10 out of 100 points for preferences, or 20 out of 100 points for preferences. And then we have to apply in the tender evaluation process, we have to allocate those points. And then we have to, by law, appoint the highest scoring bidder in terms of points. So that limits our ability to, for example, ensure that a certain amount of work goes to, for example, companies with a majority of shareholding by disabled people. This issue is going to change with the new procurement bill or procurement act, which has now been passed by Parliament, but which is not yet in effect. Apparently, the new procurement act brings back an allowance for set-asides. National Treasury is still currently developing regulations to enable us to start implementing the new procurement bill. But in the meantime, continue implementing the former preferential procurement regulations. Once the new Procurement Act becomes effective, which issued the regulations, then we will be able to, for example, identify certain projects, portions of projects which we can, for example, set aside for companies with majority shareholding people with disabilities, and then we'll be in a position to achieve the targets, level control ability to achieve the targets. Muzimati?
Thank you, Chair, I think the 2 questions about the RBIC for the project that were reflected in Q4 to support the struggling provinces. I'll just rehash what I've said, but just to put an emphasis that we do hold those one-on-one, and perhaps which is crucial for the committee to note is that the department has actually looked at all the old projects that have actually been delayed. We have actually identified those. Those are the projects that falls within the ministerial intervention under water services. So they cut across all provinces. be it RBIG as well as WSIG. But for the case in point, what we do through our provincial heads, especially in the Eastern Cape and the rest of the country, we hold our quarterly meetings with these water service authorities. We then elevate challenges. Part of the challenges share are procurement. That takes time for municipalities to complete. The other challenges are projects get hijacked on the ground. The projects can get site establishment, and then you get people who feel entitled to come and demand money for those projects, and they end up organizing themselves as business. So, but they hide the project delays the even in the project. So those are some of the key challenges that stops us from moving. On housing, we have identified municipalities that are actually contributing as delaying. One is Mohali City Chair. We have been there. We ensure that late submissions of business plans was accelerated so that the projects are time, and also helping with the materials so that they can funding spend. And in instances where there are capacity issues with our municipalities, the department has gone as far as identifying water boards where we use them as the implementing agent. And in this case, we have used the Lepelle and Water in the Limpopo to accelerate some of the projects under Mopani, which is part of us where we are identifying gaps. And we do the same also in the Eastern Cape, where we have used Amatola Water to implement some projects under Makana municipality. Those are some of the key issues to sum up the questions shared. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kobe.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I'd like to acknowledge the department. Thank you very, very much for coming to give us these much needed updates. I just need to know with the delayed projects, Honorable Galanga just emphasized what I needed to know in terms of the plans that are accelerated plans on all these delayed projects. Do we have a blanket approach in terms of the accelerated plans that go out throughout the project? Like my honorable colleague, Honorable Ramaila, has mentioned that we would like to see a replication of an acceleration of projects, just as we have seen with the Guyana Water Project. So I'd like to know from the department's end, is it a blanket approach or is it a project basis when it comes to speaking to the projects that particularly in the Northwest and in Cape are the particulars that I'd like us to zoom in on. Also, when we see about delays in implement, need to be one of the reasons why our delays, our procurement are not expedite the progress. Do we have an end in sight of seeing everything of the processes, particularly in municipalities? I think when we speak about plans and procurement processes at a level of the municipality, I think we need to start really honing in and zoning in to see if there is some sort of reformation on that level. My other question relates to municipalities which seem to be operating with impunity. And I say this because we see that in most times the department has said that they have agreed, they have said on word of mouth, and they have not honored their agreements. So beyond this diplomatic and maybe multi-stakeholder platforms that they're holding as a department, do we have a mechanism that is binding on these municipalities to say to the municipalities, you need to start paying? And I mean, if we look at debt collection on a private level, other companies are much more effective in terms of collecting their debt. I need to know, are we creating a mechanism that has teeth that would compel these municipalities to start acting accordingly? I think our municipalities mostly, or because the political will in terms of holding them accountable in the past. And I think that
on both Eastern Cape and Gauteng. We are noting that. Let me allow the DG and Risimati and CFO to respond when necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Minister, you want to respond?
And no, Chairperson. I think that the questions the DG and the DDGs will be able to address. Thank you.
Thank you very much. DG?
Thank you, Chairperson. I'll start and then I'll ask Risimati to add.